of public safety for good reasons, bad reasons, or no reason whatsoever to call off any investigation that she wants to. I am convinced that Colonel Dickon has the same power. I am convinced that whether the decision was made on Friday night or Saturday morning is really a distinction without a difference. It does not make any difference to the outcome. The outcome was botched. It would have been nice to know for sure that it was tobacco. It would have been nice to know whether it was drugs. I think it was thoroughly botched, but I don't believe that rises to the level of perjury or intentional lying of any sort. And I think when you look at the whole record, 150 emails and phone calls in a limited period of time, I think of myself. I'm a very busy person, as all of us are. I cannot recount with any accuracy this week, let alone 5 months ago, the precise sequence of events that occur over an incident involving 150 phone calls, letters, and emails in a very limited space of time. I am also convinced that any misrecollection by Ms. Collins-Taylor is a function of the fact that this all happened in the evening, after hours. People weren't there, people were out of town, people were trying to reach people after hours. She was out of town. It was poorly handled, but I don't think that means that this otherwise distinguished woman lied under oath. I just would say in the old Scottish plea, not proven. I do not believe that she lied under oath. Everything else in the IG's report, I'm in complete agreement with. I look forward to working with my colleague on the bill that will get to the root of these problems, improve security at the mansion, improve communication, improve respect for the chain of command. I agree with the chairman that we should also be working with the governor's legal counsel. What remains of them after the very troubling revelations about Mr. Eckel, but we should be working with them to streamline the procedures under which civilians have interference and prior review authority over the patrol. I agree with all of that. But I really try to be a fair person. And I don't think any of us can say in the mirror to God and these witnesses that we have never misrecollected something, that we have never made a mistake in our life. And I am not willing to ruin this woman's career over this sad, sordid incident in which there was plenty of blame to go around. The governor should take some himself, in my opinion. We'll have an opportunity to have that referendum in November, but I will respect the governor's choice out of respect for the whole situation and for Ms. Collins-Taylor. So I will join my colleagues on the other side of the aisle in voting no, and that is with the greatest respect, Mr. Chairman, to you and the fairness of your process and the work of the patrol and the IG. I don't want to get in the middle of a fight with you guys. I learned a long time ago, never get into a fight with people that have badges and guns. So I'm not going to get in the middle of that fight. I believe we should all try to get along better with one another and not be trying to set one another up and not be trying to take one another down. We can have disagreements without being disagreeable. We can work on substantive issues of public policy. That's what we should do. We can disagree about that, but this politics of tearing people down, we need to realize it's bad, it's wrong. It's wrong for people to try to set up the IG or impugn your integrity. It's wrong for people to impugn the integrity of great public servants, African-American public servants like Major Booker and Captain Henderson and Mr. Mack and others. That's wrong, but it's also wrong to ruin one woman's very distinguished life over a real Hogan's Heroes cluster. Whoever said this was a cluster hit the nail right on the head as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
And that's a no vote on our side?
Yes.
Senator Seitz, why I don't take offense to being compared to a short, fat guy. I want to make it clear to the members of the committee. I asked no one to vote a specific way, but to vote your conscience. I'm not offended by a vote, regardless of which way you go. This isn't about me. This is about the process. Senator Goodman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it goes without saying that this is a very difficult decision to make. I don't think it lightly. This is about a human being who has shown to have an exemplary career, 3 years in law enforcement, and up until becoming director, I don't think there's been a problem. But based upon what I've seen, the evidence put before us, I started out with receiving the Office of the Inspector General's report. that it was accurate, but I didn't reach a conclusion based upon that. I also met with Attorney Cathy for a couple of hours to hear criticism of it and have him point out various instances of inaccuracies or alleged inaccuracies. And I followed up on that, read as many of these depositions as I could. We received the report from the Department of Public Safety contradicting this. I read over that, I read the response to that, I read all of that. To the point where I think I had a pretty good idea of what the facts of the issue were, and I wasn't persuaded to not agree with the conclusion of the Office of the Inspector General, the job that is reaching that conclusion. With that said, I came to this hearing with the hope to learn more and have me persuaded to go a different direction. But I found that was something that was even more disturbing to me, and that was, as we discussed the facts of this, it's really not generally, although I think it's in and out of the report, it's not specific issues that everybody's been talking about. If you go through the totality of the circumstances here, you do run into a situation where you're seeing things run in ways that are incredibly disturbing. And we're talking about law. About chains of command that aren't being kept, and no one really being concerned about them, even though they cause these types of things to happen. Folks getting reprimanded because they're complaining about the fact that chains of command aren't being kept. But the people who are causing the problem, such as, I think, Officer Manning, who created it, what I think was the cluster here, saying that's just fine for him to create a story of his own, that something's going to get thrown over, and that it's to back up his aspect. The story starts on that, and that all happens because he's gone outside the chain of command. But based upon all of those things that have happened and bad decisions that were made, it turns to me that it's not really the crime, but it's the cover-up that causes me to be very concerned. Because at the end of the day, instead of doing what Director Collins said he would have done in the circumstances when asked about embarrassment to the boss, and say, yeah, you know, I worked for 30 years and I've had a lot of bosses, and I think it's important not to want to embarrass the boss and to work hard not to embarrass the boss. And, what happened here was alternative stories were created. It's a fabrication to say that this sting operation was discontinued because it was dangerous to the officers and dangerous to the governor. That's just a fabrication. Every time somebody stood up there and said it and tried to make a case for it and claimed that their decision was made based upon that, to me, was simply not being straight. There were too many folks. If you go to the chain of command, how this thing all came down, you've got Miller, Booker, Thompson, Henderson, even Colonel Dickens, until it came back to him through his superiors, and Mr. McCann, not really giving this a second thought because it was a routine operation. It was put together in an appropriate fashion. But all of a sudden, another decision was made. They had to do a cover-up of it, and they had to claim that there had to be a reason for us not to do this, and it has to be because it was dangerous and it was a poorly conceived operation. Who gets hurt for that? Folks on the ground doing their job. Officer Miller, Booker, Thompson, Henderson, Costas. Good officers doing their jobs in an appropriate fashion, and they're getting criticized and reprimanded for doing their job well. I have a problem with that. I think that, once again, it's not just this Inspector General report, it's how it was handled after the case, it's the cover-up, it's blaming the folks who are below you for the mistakes that you've made, and based upon all of that, I just do not think that the current director is fit to be confirmed under the circumstances. She may be a very good cop. She may have had a 30 years career, and she's a good person, but as far as being a director, making tough decisions, and understanding what her responsibilities are, I'm not comfortable with her being in that position.